Our team members component has one potential disadvantage. It's now only loadable through routing. Why? Because in the code, we rely on $route in the end. We use it here in created and we watch it here. So if you would use this component by simply embedding it in the template of another component, let's say you change your application and you now suddenly want to use this differently, or you use it in different places, one time loaded through routing, another time used through its tag in the template, then this would be problematic. It might be better if team members would be loaded such that you get props, that you simply get your team ID as a prop. That's how you would build this component if it would not be loaded through routing. You would get the team ID through props, and in all the places where you need the ID, instead of using this $route, you use this team ID, referring to that prop. And here you could then watch this prop for changes, for example. And then we would get our new ID here, would maybe forward that to load members, and we would change the load members code here to not expect the route as an argument, but the team ID. And therefore, we now just got team ID as an argument here, and we can delete that old first line. But if we save that, it won't work. We see nothing on the screen for /t2. And if we open the developer tools, we see that the problem is that we cannot read the property members of undefined. And the reason should be obvious. Team ID is expected as a prop, but we're loading this through routing. And the router by default doesn't add any props to this loaded component. But that's something you can change. In your route config, here on this route, which is the route responsible for loading the team members component, you can add another option. You can add the props option and set this to true. And this does one important thing. It tells the view router that the dynamic parameters should be passed into this component as props rather than just on the $route property. So now you will have a prop of the name you defined here after the colon, in my case team ID. The value, which is now part of the URL, will now be passed in as a prop into this component when it's loaded. So with props true, if you save that and reload, now this works again. And now we have one advantage. Now this component, team members, is more reusable, because now we can use it anywhere as long as we provide this prop. It's not strictly tied to routing anymore. So this is simply an alternative which you could consider when it comes to routing and loading components through routing. You can make your components more reusable by using props instead of $route. And even if you don't plan on using the component anywhere else, you might prefer getting your data through props than having to search for it in the $route params property.